Hey guys, so I guess this is my first video I've done in quite, I think in forever. Really, I don't think I've ever done a video like this before. Anyway, I thought I would address some of the questions that a lot of people have been sending me via Instagram and via Facebook, and I thought that it might be easier for me to just answer some of the general questions on here because I try to get through to everybody, but honestly there's so many messages and I definitely will try to answer every single one of you. But it's I've been quite inundated with quite a lot of messages and everybody's important to me. I just want to try and get the general questions answered on this video, and it also gives me a chance to show you who I am and tell you a little bit about my story, I guess. So one of the questions I get quite a lot is, what happened with your film career? Did you end up picking it up after leaving Hillsong College, and did you go back into the film industry, or did you reuse the connections, and what's the story with that? I guess my answer to that would be, before I went to Hillsong College, I had a really good career prospect, I guess, or prospect of a good career, because I worked on quite a few international movie sets in Cape Town, some really good name Hollywood productions, and it gave me really great connections. And I also worked on set from the age of 16, on running on set, helping the directors and so forth on different productions, South African productions. And as a lot of you know, I grew up in the newsroom. My grandfather was a veteran journalist, so I had the privilege of growing up, and my mum was a journalist as well, so of growing up in that arena, and I loved it because it was a part of my blood, I guess. You can't really take that away from my journey, I guess. I'm very thankful for my grandfather, who always used to tell me that if something doesn't look right, it usually isn't right. So he helped me. That kind of stuff helped me quite a lot through my journey, and just questioning practices and things that Hillsong did. So yeah, to answer your question, after Hillsong, it kind of stopped me at my tracks because I didn't really want to go back home and face everybody and tell them that I'd messed up at Hillsong, because that was how I felt at that stage. And I think I just decided instinctively that I just work in Australia, and it was hard for me to get a full-time work in Australia because I was on a student visa, so I only had a limited time of 20 hours to work, and I couldn't really work on set for 20 hours. They need you for a lot longer, so I ended up having to do another course and going through all of that, and it really stunned me. And yeah, I ended up not going back into the film industry, which is quite sad because it's something I really love. I ended up going to eventually landing up in the whole 3D design space. I am working for a great company, but I won't be saying the name of the company or my role or position out of confidentiality, and I work with the most amazing people, so it's not worth going into too much detail. That I do sometimes do some film stuff on the side, but I am not fully in the film industry anymore, even though I have a lot of friends in the industry. And I would probably love to go back at some point, but I think my life has taken a different turn, and I don't really see my life as what I do is the most important thing. I think the most important thing for me is living my life well for God, and yeah, that's basically it. I am studying to be an interior designer now, and I really love architecture and interior design. It's a great space to be in. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I am 32 and I am married. I'm no longer a student, for some people that would like to figure that out. And I live in Sydney, Australia with my beautiful husband. So a question I also get quite a bit is, who helped you? I would say first and foremost that the most important thing to remember, I guess, in my story and in other stories might be different from mine, but I think for me it's always the fact that God helped me. God helped me to see what real authentic church looks like, and I ended up starting to write a book called Authentic Grace about my journey of what real Christianity looks like for me. So I think God really helped me with that, and he helped me to show me what organic church looks like. And I'm thankful for books as well, that where God has given other people revelations on the same thing. One of them is by Frank Viola, who I highly regard. And I think that his book on organic church really put a great perspective in my mind of church doesn't have to have four walls, and that really helped me as well. And that helped me to eventually speak out as well, and to say, look, this system that people have created, this corporate system is not, it's not necessarily the way the church is supposed to look like. And if you look at the book of Acts and you look further into the Bible, you realize that that's how the authentic church looks like. In terms of people that have helped me along the way personally, I would definitely say people like Bob Cotton, great inspiration to me in terms of his faith and his leadership with his own small church in Mayland, and the way that he's a justice advocate for victims, not just of Hillsong Church, but for a lot of other people. And I think that he's a great example of that. Tanya Levin, the way that she fearlessly and and with a brave heart, stood up against the oppression of Hillsong Church. And then obviously people I've met on the way, people like Rich McHugh from the Me Too movement, who's been fantastic in this process the last 2 years, helping me to speak out. So yeah, there's been quite a few people that have been super instrumental in my journey to speak out. And obviously my husband as well has been very supportive, which I'm very thankful for. But yeah, I think it's been a process. So there's different people I can thank in this process that I'm grateful for. And yeah, I think hopefully that will answer the question. Did you expect an apology from Hillsong Church? I did, yes. I was hoping that, I guess we all hope that they would come to their senses in some way and say, look, we know that there's structural problems within the church, and we want to discuss this with the college students. We want to discuss this with you, with others. But I don't think that that's the way that they see things. I think they see things as, this is a PR issue, let's fix it, which is very damaging from a church perspective, because it's not helpful, and it does make me wonder if we could even really call them a church as such. So no, I would say I would expect them to change, but they probably won't change. Let's put it that way. Has the college experience changed you? I think it has. I think it has fully changed my perception of how I view the Christian church and my Christian walk. I think that looking at church as a whole, I look at church more authentically now. I think that Hillsong is a corporation and not a church. And I think that it showed me what real family looks like compared to a fake church family within Hillsong. So yeah, there's so many different facets to. I think that it's made a lot of people deconstruct from the faith, which I think is a really sad thing. But I think that for me personally, it's brought me closer to God instead of taking me further away from God. So I'm very thankful that God has helped me to see what the truth is, I guess, and I don't equate them with the truth. What happened at Refresh team? So Refresh is interesting because they put you on Refresh and they expect you to work a certain amount of hours and to clean their conference toilets. And I didn't work 20 hours consecutively like some of the reports said. I did have 45-minute breaks in between, but I did work morning shift, which would mean you clean out the toilet for the conference. I remember thousands of people come through the conference. So I would say I probably worked maybe 17 hours. I don't know. I have to do the math on that, but quite a substantial amount of time. I think that Color Conference, I was still okay doing it because I didn't have health issues or anything when I was doing Color Conference. I still think that it's exploitation, but I think Hillsong Conference was the big turning point for me when they forced me to serve with kidney stones, and they literally just told me that I either serve there or I get kicked out. So serving with 2 kidney stones and then eventually collapsing in the volunteers area was, yeah, that was probably the toughest thing for me, and realizing just how bad they were. Next question, is Hillsong covering up abuse? Oh, I definitely think so. I think one of my main abuse abuse issues with them was when I was on the street teams. I was on street teams, and I met this lady. I was on there for a few weeks, and I ended up going out. We go to like low socioeconomic areas, and you would mow their lawns and whatever else, and you weren't really allowed to tell them much about God, which was interesting for me. And there was a lady that I met there, and her son had cigarette butt marks all over his arm, and it was quite horrific. And I went to her, and I'm like, is something wrong? There's something going on. And she said, yeah, look, in week 3, I think it was week 3 that I was there. She said, yeah, look, my son is being abused, and I'm being domestically abused, and I would love for you to please help me and go to the police. And I offered to take her to the police and do the right thing, and I got scolded by leadership for doing that. And I think that was a big turning point for me in my journey with Hillsong, because I realized something at Hillsong, besides the cattiness and all that other stuff, that covering up abuse is the worst thing you can do. And it doesn't matter if it's within your church or outside of your church. Not being able to help somebody in need is already a big question mark on your moral and ethical outlook on life, I guess. And I tried to fight to get this woman into some sort of help with a shelter or something, and I was just shunned. And I was told I'm just divisive, I need to stop, I was taken off of the team. And I still think about those people today. I don't know what's happened to the little boy, I don't know what's happened. He must be, maybe 18 now, who knows how old he is. 16, I don't know. But he was a small baby when that happened. He was probably about 3 or 4. For me, that was a big shock, that they would just sit back and they would just allow the abuse to happen. And now that's not Bobby and Brian themselves, because they're at the top there, but somebody has to be giving these people, instructions. So I honestly think that, the leadership top down know what's happening. They just don't want to do anything about it. That's my perception of it. So yeah, definitely did observe that abuse was shoved under a rug. The same thing happened when I caught a pastor massaging a girl's back, and I hate that word because I think it's just like rubbing the girl's back, I guess. There's no less slimy way of putting it. And for me, that was kind of like, why would you do that? And it really shocked me that they would that he would do it so openly, and I found it quite intimidating. I guess after that, I started speaking to a lot of different other people who'd gone through other abuse situations within the church. Somebody who told me they were sexually abused while I was at the church, and you start feeling really worried when you're in that position. And I asked way too many questions. I think I kept asking questions, and they hated that I asked so many questions. And eventually, they put somebody in charge of me to make sure that I would fall into line. And that's the way it happened. Yes, the next question is quite relevant. Do I hate Bobby and Brian? No, I'm not. I don't think I hate them at all, and I don't hate people overall. I'm quite a forgiving kind of person, if you know me. But I think that I dislike what they've allowed to happen within their church. I think that they can change if they allow God to let them change. Anybody can change. But I don't think that they're willing to change. I could be wrong, but I don't speak for the arts. But I'm hoping that they will apologize to a lot of the students, apologize to the victims of the church, say, look, we've messed up some stuff here, let's fix this up. But I just don't see that ever happening. It would be lovely to see that happen, but I just doubt it. I think it's wishful thinking to think that they are going to pick up the phone and go, hey Yolandi, we're so sorry that these things happened at the college. We never knew this happened. I doubt that. I think they knew very well. I think for the last few, maybe even 15 years, these things have been constantly happening. And I don't think that they intend to apologize to anybody. They haven't apologized to Brett, the victim of Frank. They haven't apologized to anybody really. So not going to happen, probably. But who knows, right? What was the other question? What do you think of Carlette and Renine? Personally, I have met Renine. I think she is lovely. I think she is a very, very lovely person. And I think that she is an unfortunate victim of a system that she's not a part of the system, but she has been affected by the issues that the system has. I think that Cole is a perpetrator, but I also think he's a victim of his own church. I think that Vanity Fair put it really well when they said that he is a victim of his own church. And we've seen this with Alison Mack in XCM. I don't want to paint her as a victim right now, but she was essentially a victim of Rainier, and she became a victim and then a perpetrator. We do see that happen. And I mean, I think that Cole, overall, he dug his own grave by doing the things that he did, but I also think that there's a part of the system that makes you want to rebel against the system, because the system is so sneaky and so controlling and cultish that you want to start fighting back against it. I definitely did. I mean, I came to a point where I was tired of walking in line every day and just doing everything that they said I should do. And the more I was supposed to say, yes, I'll do that. No, I won't, I promise I won't mess up this. And like living by their enormous rule book, the more I wanted to go against their rule book, because the rule book was just insanity. So yeah, so I think that Cole is as much a victim as a perpetrator. So I feel for the guy. I hope that he can rebuild his life. I hope his wife can rebuild her life. I hope the best for Renee. It's sad, and I truly hope that he will rebuild his relationship with his wife, and then potentially start a church again, and fix up, because that's what God wants. He wants restoration and forgiveness. I hope he learns from his lesson. Yeah, I guess what was the last question? What do I think of Justin Bieber taking over the church? I think that's ridiculous. I can't believe that Justin Bieber would like to take Cole's place, but if it's real and the media reports are actually true, I would say that makes me feel like somebody has been thrown under a bus, but could be wrong. But I just feel like that would be a very bad PR move for him, and maybe a really good PR move for Hillsong, because that's what they want. But I think that the house of cards keeps tumbling down, and whoever is a part of that will tumble down with it. So yeah. What was the worst part at Hillsong? I think the worst part was not only the stalking part, where people would follow me around and see what I've had in my, dub me in and see what I had in my trolley, and then make a list of all the groceries that I bought, which is just plain ridiculous and crazy. But I think that the worst part for me was losing really good friends, people who are on staff, I guess, even now still at Hillsong Church, and losing those friends and never being able to see them again, and looking back on it, looking at some of the videos and stuff that I still have of them at my birthday party, and how much they loved me and all of that, and I think that was really hard for me to walk into Gloria Jeans and people would look at you like you're this terrible enemy. It's almost like a bad movie where the whole group of people would look at you like, why are you here? Go away, like you're the worst thing ever. You spoke of against our church. I think that's the hardest part. It was the hardest part, losing everything, my community, my friends, I'm thankful I didn't have any family there, but I can imagine how somebody would feel if they had family there. It's something that scars you for life, and yeah, it's not a fun experience. I guess that's all of the questions that I can answer right now about all of this. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. I will delve into a bit more of the systematic abuse of the church at a later stage. I think this video is long enough now, but it's quite a lot of different things how this church operates that I think needs to change. And I'm hoping that it's not just Hillsong that changes, but I'm hoping that some pastors would be looking at this and would be going, maybe I need to make a change in my own church. Maybe I need to fix a few things in my own church. I have great respect for churches like Bethel Church, and I think they're on a great path of what it looks like overall, to have a good solid basis. I went to Bethel, and I think that they have an open door policy, which is so amazing, and I love that. I never felt hurt by them in any way. I always felt very much understood and loved by them. And the open door policy of being able to express yourself, talk to people, it was great. And I just think that more churches need to be like that. Unfortunately, they're not. And it's all comes down to the fact that we need to honor the people that we serve. And as leaders, those are the people they serve. Brian and Bobby are leaders, and they are the servants of the church. They're not the leaders as such, leading the pack. They are supposed to be the servants of the people in the church, supposed to serve them, show them who Jesus is, and help them to grow closer to Jesus. So the same with other churches. We need to become the hands and feet of people instead of having to misuse them. So yeah, I guess that's that from me. I hope everybody has a happy new year, and I will be back soon with more videos.